Hello, my friends, and welcome back. Today we're going to be taking a look at a creator on TikTok who says that the treatment for obesity is killing more people than the obesity itself. We're going to investigate a lot of the claims made in today's video, so there's going to be a lot of reading. I'm going to try to keep the reading segments interesting with nice little zoom and pan effects. Let's take a look at their claims.
This person says it isn't the weight killing people, and I think the other comment said it's the treatment. And yes, 100%. So we were talking about how weight loss surgery and losing weight rapidly and losing large chunks of weight have a lot of serious complications, including higher risk of heart issues, because your body, when it is being starved, starts doing what's called muscle wasting. It starts eating at your muscle instead of your fat.
That only happens if you don't use the muscle.
And your heart is a muscle. So, do the math there.
Yeah, it turns out the human body is moronic. Instead of just losing the weight, it'll just eat your heart and then you'll die, and you'll die fat.
This is the big problem, and this is what really upsets me about fat people being treated as a weight loss problem, because you have a significant number of fat people who lose a significant amount of weight, especially in a very, very short period of time, and then eventually have heart attacks and don't survive.
Oh yeah, and it's from the losing of the weight. That's why they have heart attacks and don't survive.
And then get blamed for the reason they died. So their treatments kill us, and then they still say, oh, it's because they were obese.
Well, I mean, you wouldn't have needed to undertake any sort of treatment to begin with if you weren't obese, right?
And it's super fucked up, and I'm incredibly over it.
Are you over it? Have you went and put in the effort of weight loss and all this so many times that now you're over it? I don't understand how you can be over something that you haven't even tried one time. So, this person says that losing weight is more dangerous than being obese. Let's take a look at that. The process that the person was referring to is known as muscle catabolism. Catabolism in living organisms is defined as the breakdown of complex molecules to form simpler ones. Most often, this refers to the wasting of lean muscle tissue and should be avoided at all costs. Not only do you become weaker and more prone to injury, but your metabolism will slow down and can decrease the amount of calories burned at rest. This, in turn, can slow down your weight loss. Bariatric patients are more prone to muscle wasting due to decreased consumption of protein over prolonged periods and insufficient resistance exercise, which promotes muscle stimulation and growth. If you don't use, you might lose. Recent studies found that at 12 months after surgery, 46 to 64% of patients were not meeting the minimum protein goal of 60 grams per day. Okay, so some bariatric patients may experience muscle catabolism, but that is due to the lack of proper protein intake and proper resistance training. That person mentioned muscle wasting as one of the very common side effects of bariatric surgery, but it's actually far less common than you think. The complications that people mostly experience are the following: acid reflux, anesthesia-related risks, chronic nausea and vomiting, dilation of esophagus, inability to eat certain foods, infection, obstruction of stomach, weight gain or failure to lose weight. And then we have the bariatric surgery long-term risks. Dumping syndrome, a condition that can lead to symptoms like nausea and dizziness. Dumping syndrome refers to when your body bypasses the stomach after you've had bariatric surgery and dumps the food directly into your intestine. Low blood sugar, malnutrition, vomiting, ulcers, bowel obstruction, and hernias. Alright, so the most common complications have nothing to do with muscle wasting. Luckily, our friends over at Princeton have done a study on the risks of not having bariatric surgery to weigh the pros and cons. Is it more dangerous to be obese, or is it more dangerous to get bariatric surgery? They've already done this study, and they have conclusive results. Let's take a look. The risk of not having weight loss surgery. During the past few years, there have been a number of articles and reports focused on the risk of complications associated with surgical procedures performed for the treatment of morbid obesity. The mortality risk of severe obesity. One important issue that has escaped the attention of the media is the underlying mortality risk associated with severe obesity. Until recently, the magnitude of this risk has been largely unknown. In 1980, an article in a major medical journal titled Excessive Mortality and Causes of Death in Morbidly Obese Men examined the mortality rate and causes of death in a group of morbidly obese veterans studied through the VA hospital system over a 7-year period. This study found that the death rate in young men 25 to 34 and middle-aged 35 to 44 obese men was 6 to 12 times higher than that of normal weight men of the same age. Recent studies of bariatric surgery mortality. The study that we're about to read about is from 1997, so bariatric surgery is infinitely safer today than it was back in 1997, so let's just keep that in mind as we read. In 1997, researchers from East Carolina University evaluated 232 morbidly obese diabetic patients who volunteered as candidates for surgical treatment. 154 of these patients actually had gastric bypass surgery. The remaining 78 did not have surgery for a variety of reasons. These authors found that the annual mortality rate in the non-surgical group was nearly 5 times higher than that of the surgical group during the 6 to 9 year follow-up interval. In fact, 28% of the non-surgical group died during this time versus only 9% of the surgically treated patients. 28% of the non-surgical group died versus only 9% of the surgically treated patients. We can also see a little bit of long-term study here. 2 authors from Washington State found that the mortality rate over a 15-year period was 1/3 lower in patients who had surgical treatment via a number of different procedures versus those who did not. Conclusions. Today, we have solid data supporting the position that the mortality risk of morbid obesity is extremely high, much higher than the mortality risk associated with bariatric surgery. There you have it. I said good day, sir. I said good day. Well, that about does it. Thanks for watching, commenting, liking, and subscribing, and I'll see you in the next one.